The Quran is very particular in the choice of words it uses. It's very particular in the synonyms it selects. It's very particular in the sequence of the words in one ayah, in one verse. It's also very particular in the arrangement of the chapters of the surah of the Quran. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam arranged the sequence of the chapters of the Quran. And the selective choice of the words, the selective choice of the sequence of the words in a verse, and the selective choice of the arrangement of the surah, of the chapters of the Quran, they all give a message. And tonight I want to give an example of the latter one. If you look at the arrangement of the chapters of the Quran, from the 17th chapter of the Quran, Surah Al-Isra, Allah subhanahu begins by talking about the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who was taken from a night journey and then raised up to the heavens. Begins with a miracle. We go to the next surah of the Quran, which is the 18th chapter of the Quran, which is Surah Al-Kahf. Allah subhanahu speaks about wonders. He speaks about the miracles between Musa and Khadr alayhi salam. And then we move on to the next chapter of the Quran, the 19th chapter of the Quran is Surah Maryam. Allah subhanahu begins the surah talking about Zakaria and the miracle of them having a child while he was old, feeble, and his wife was barren. In that same surah, we have the miracle of the birth of Isa alayhi salam without a father, and his other miracles he did during his lifetime. And so the message in the arrangement of these surahs is that now that you have examined these miracles throughout these chapters that come in a sequence and that they're historically supported, your conclusion should be that these prophets are true. And this is why the very next surah that comes after these series of surahs, you have the 19th Surah Maryam, then you have Surah Taha, which is the 20th chapter of the Quran, which talks about the miracles of Musa alayhi salam against Fir'aun. And then the very next chapter is the 21st chapter of the Quran, called Surah Al-Anbiya, which is the chapter, the surah of the prophets. That this should be your conclusion, that these prophets are true because you just went through a series of chapters examining these miracles. Now, someone can say, but these miracles are like fairy tales. Why should we believe in these miracles? You're talking about, let's take for example, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam being taken from Mecca to Jerusalem in one night at that time without airplanes. How can anyone believe this? Or any of the other miracles about a child being born without a father. How's that even possible? Our answer is simple, is that the definition of a miracle or the definition of a mu'jiza, that it's an amrun khariqun lil'ada, that it is a supernatural act. It is an extraordinary act. In other words, it's not governed by the laws of gravity. It's not governed by the laws of physics. It's not governed by scientific laws. Its definition inherently says that it breaks these laws and these acts come about because Allah subhanahu allows this to happen for prophets for the single purpose of it being a challenge to those who disbelieve in these prophets. And so to use the laws of physics or the laws of science to say these miracles are not possible is a contradiction, because the definition of the miracle itself is that it breaks these laws and it comes into existence. And so I ask Allah subhanahu that when we read the book of Allah, that we derive these messages and conclusions and it increases our iman. Wa sallallahu ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in.